The U.S. Navy is plagued with delays and failed projects, while China now boasts the largest navy in the world. Can Trump turn things around and make U.S. naval power great again? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. So, I've been warning for years now that the U.S. Navy is in serious dire straits. It's like watching a ship slowly sink, except this is the Navy. It's not like that, it is that. It needs to get its act together, especially with China beefing up its Navy. According to a leaked 2023 U.S. Navy analysis, China's shipbuilding capacity is 232 times greater than that of the United States. In other words, China can make a whole lot more ships than America. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Sure, but what about the quality? Well, first of all, quantity is its own type of quality. And as you'll see in a bit, the U.S. quality isn't so hot anymore either. Right now, China has 370 ships, while the U.S. only has 296, and that number is actually shrinking. But China is growing. In 5 years, China will have 425 ships, absolutely dwarfing the number of U.S. ships. The scope of this problem has just been revealed thanks to this new report by the Government Accountability Office. U.S. Navy shipbuilding is consistently over budget and delayed. Oh, that doesn't sound very good, especially with a war with China looming on the horizon. The report says despite nearly doubling its shipbuilding budget over the last 2 decades, the U.S. Navy hasn't increased the number of ships. Spending more money for less? Who's running the Navy? California? There are a few reasons this has happened. For one, some shipyards don't have enough room to do what the Navy wants in time. Some also just have really old infrastructure that can delay construction and repair. It's like asking someone to bake you the world's largest Black Forest cake, but they only have an easy bake oven from 1963. There's also the fact that shipbuilders just don't have enough workers to meet the Navy's demands. It's surprisingly not a lucrative job. And even with the workers already in the industry, a majority of them just don't have enough experience. So it takes more time and money to just maintain what the U.S. already has, let alone building more ships to counter China. Because as it turns out, building ships is hard, even when they're not in a bottle. So despite billions of dollars of investment into getting the U.S. to crank out more ships, there's still not enough shipyards or workers. And that's because, according to the new report, the U.S. Navy and the Office of the Secretary of Defense aren't fully coordinating their shipbuilding investments to prevent duplication or overlap in spending. Communication problems. I don't know if they need budget management or couples counseling. Another problem is that the Navy hasn't even set goals or measurable targets for what to do with all that money. Unfortunately, this poor communication is considered a feature, not a bug. A very expensive, naive bug with poor communication skills. Navy leadership discourages using quality control tools, such as monetary penalties if contractors submit late and/or poor quality work. In other words, if they screw up, they still get the money. You wouldn't handle your money like that, but the government will handle your money like that. The Navy has also actually reduced inspections by almost 50%, all for the sake of maintaining strong working relations with contractors. That'd be like hiring a guy to redo your bathroom. He reworks the plumbing to make the contents of your septic tank shoot out of your shower head, and you say, "Great job," because you want to make sure he wants to work with you on other future projects. To make matters worse, the Navy doesn't even have a strategy for managing the U.S.'s ship industrial base. That's the system of shipyards, suppliers, workers, and infrastructure that supports building and maintaining ships. The Navy's theme song should be changed from "In the Navy" to "Living on a Prayer." And the Navy is sending so many mixed messages to shipyards, they have no idea what to expect from one year to the next. The Navy's plans for building and repairing ships vary from year to year. So that's like asking someone to bake you the world's largest Black Forest cake, but they only have an easy bake oven from 1963, and then halfway through you say, "Never mind, I actually want a beef Wellington." Priorities are screwed up as well. Take the very expensive new USS Gerald Ford. The Navy ditched battle-tested features found on previous carriers and instead went with more expensive technology that hasn't always worked out as expected. Yeah, that's a good way to spend more money and not have more ships. Probably one of the worst examples in recent history of Navy mismanagement was only publicly reported last December. The Navy wanted to modernize 7 guided missile cruisers, upgrade them so they could get a few more years of service out of them. 5 years, okay, fine, makes sense. Only 3 were completed, and none of them will get the full 5 extra years of service life. The Navy wasted $1.8 billion on that. This was such a brutal blow to the U.S., I'm surprised the remnants of ISIS didn't try to claim responsibility. Clearly something needs fixing. But apparently the Navy isn't taking those recommendations seriously, because to them, if it ain't broke, actually it is broke, but still, don't fix it. In another recent report, the Government Accountability Office said it had made 90 recommendations to the Navy since 2015. The Navy agreed with many of them, but has only fully or partially addressed 30, with 60 recommendations unaddressed. This is an immediate problem. Some experts think China will try to invade Taiwan in 2027. That's 2 years away. Is the U.S. Navy capable of fighting a war like that? Or are we SOL? Ship out of luck. Well, the Trump administration is trying to do something, but it's very late in the day. China builds more than half the world's ships, but that's about to get very expensive for China and any country or company that uses them. Trump wants to charge Chinese ships $1 million for every port call. And most ships make around 3 port calls per voyage to the U.S. Trump also announced the creation of a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and put out an executive order called Restoring America's Maritime Dominance. Various government agencies will work together with the White House to create a maritime action plan. It's about countering China and building back up America's maritime industrial base. It calls for a ton of reviews on shipbuilding programs, procurement rules, regulations, and the U.S. maritime workforce, as well as new funding mechanisms and financial incentives to promote investments into U.S. shipyards and subcomponent supply chains. So essentially, all the things that would have been common sense to do years ago. Revolutionary, I know. There's also a bunch of red tape getting cut. And even DOGE is getting in on the action. They'll do their own review of the DoD and Homeland Security vessel procurement process. And as always, Trump is putting an emphasis on education. He wants to modernize the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. These guys are critical to sea-based commerce during peace and the transportation of cargo and personnel by sea during war. Very important job. But the number of them has declined from roughly 50,000 in 1960 to less than 10,000 today. I haven't seen a decline that sharp in the same time frame outside of Bill Cosby's fan base. This was a priority for Trump even back during his first term in office. Trump also wants to offer scholarships to maritime experts from allied countries to teach at U.S. institutions, probably Japan and South Korea. Navy Secretary John Phelan has been busy visiting a lot of shipyards and building relationships with partners to aid in shipbuilding. He made his first international trip to Japan and then to South Korea, 2 powerful shipbuilding allies that the U.S. wants closer collaboration with. It's still early in Trump's second term, so I'm sure there will be more developments, but the clock is ticking, and we don't want to be ship out of luck. But what do you think? Leave your expertly crafted analysis in the comments below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.